Smile. Hello, I am Patty McGee from The Hydrated Life. I am a life coach, motivational speaker, and massage therapist, and a corporate wellness trainer. And tonight I'm going to be talking about sugar and the effect on the body. And I have Karen Smith with me from Love and Life on YouTube. So go check out her channel and subscribe. I'm The Hydrated Life on YouTube, so you can go check that out too and subscribe. And we just wanted to chat about our journeys with sugar and how it's affected our bodies or the bodies of people that we love. This is for educational purposes only. We are not doctors. We cannot prescribe or diagnose anything. So that's not our goal. Our goal is just to educate you on some hidden sugars and the role in the body with them. So welcome, Karen. How are you?
So I'm great.
Tell them a little bit about who you are, like where what you do, and
well, first, me and my husband, we both have a YouTube channel called Love and Life, and we do videos on emergency preparedness, do-it-yourself projects like making your own tinctures and soaps and things like that, organization, camping, reviews on books, movies, just fun stuff, and just loving life in this crazy world. For a job, I am a medical coder, so I read a lot of patient reports, and I see a lot of diabetics and sugar issues with patients. So this is definitely a good topic.
Yeah. How did you get into the holistic end of things? I share a little bit about your snack drawer in your previous job, and what changed that? What was the turnaround for you?
Well, if I can brag on my friends, it would be you. So yeah, not a horrible junk food eater, but not the healthiest. I mean, my snack drawer at work, just because before I got into medical coding, I was working for an oral surgeon. So we were on our feet like all day long doing surgeries and, not getting breaks or lunches sometimes. So I would have this huge snack drawer. I mean, it looked like a convenience store, and it was all organized. Like I had my Rice Krispie treats all in order. I had my, what do you call it? The Reese's Buttercups all in order. And so I can just, Slim Jims, and I can just grab anything that I wanted out of there. So, I was just kind of like a junk food eater. But I was also active. So I'm my sugar has always been good. I'm not overweight. But then I surrounded myself with a bunch of fabulous ladies who happen to be all like into health and wellness. And, I would listen, we would always have our like conversations and everything. And you guys are just like, oh, I am eating, beet chips instead of potato chips. And I'm just like, what are beet chips? So, but I mean, even though if I didn't seem too interested in those conversations, I was picking up a lot of information. And now that I'm older and more mature, I look back on those conversations and I'm like, I'm such an idiot. How come I didn't listen?
Well, you did. It just took you a little longer to take the action.
Yep.
Share your story, since you talk about in that job with the oral surgeon, you couldn't eat, right? And you always had to wear a mask. So tell this funny story of how you ate while he was drilling.
Yeah. So of course, when we're drilling in somebody's mouth, we were wearing masks and gloves and everything. And I mean, sometimes you're just running from one room to another, patient to patient. And this particular day, I mean, I could literally feel my blood sugar dropping, and I was so hungry, and we like didn't even get a lunch or anything. And so I went into my snack drawer, and I had those little peanut butter that filled pretzels. And so what I did was I put my mask up, and then I shoved like probably about 10 of those pretzels inside my mask. And then I would, like, when he would start drilling or something got like really noisy, then I would kind of like get one in my mouth, and then I would like start crunching on it like fast so I can like swallow it. And then every time he stopped drilling, I would stop chewing. So like the patient wouldn't know that I was eating. He wouldn't know that I was eating. So
The things we do for money, right?
I'm telling you.
But I have to say, after hearing you tell that story during COVID, when I was at the spa, I did the exact same thing while I was massaging somebody. I was like, oh, this is what it's like. I stuck some snacks and I don't even remember what they were, but then it worked
See?
beautifully.
You learned
Yep.
something.
So if you're out there and you don't have time to eat and you have to wear a mask, just stick some little snacks in there and pop them in your mouth. But all right, so let's get into tonight, and let's talk about sugar, what it is. And again, this is for educational purposes only. It's not to diagnose or to treat anything. Okay, we are just average people who have gone through experiences. I'm a 21-year breast cancer survivor, and after I got done with chemo and radiation, I asked my oncologist what I could do so I never had to go through chemo and radiation again, and she said nothing. It was a fluke thing that I got it, but I knew better. I knew that I had to change my life. I ate candy since the time I could speak and chew. My grandmother had a little penny store behind her house, and if I got a quarter, the whole quarter went to candy. And everywhere I went, my lunches, when we moved down to Chadwick's, I got the big gobstoppers, you name it. We walked across the Cloverleaf Dairy, got the snacks, ate them. So I was a huge sugar junkie. Donuts, you name it. Every Sunday after church, donuts. Hi, Shar and Terry. How are you?
Hey, Shar.
Welcome. So for me, after growing up, then I turned to alcohol, and I abused alcohol for 37 years. So I knew my gut. Plus, I had a lot of antibiotics because, hey, Aisha, how are you? She works with me.
Hi.
So I understood because I had the whooping cough at age 6 in first grade. So I missed 3 months of school, all those antibiotics on me, in me, with no probiotics, because back then they didn't think anything about it. You're talking 54 years ago.
Yeah.
The doctors were smoking in the rooms with you, they were obese and overweight. So when you look back on your life, you can see your trail of sugar and what it's done, which has led me to toenail fungus, which I know is gross, but there's nothing I can do about it. And the cancer treatment enhanced that even worse. I lost my fingernails and my toenails, but my fingernails came back. My toenails did not. So when you're looking at sugars, okay, they're simple carbohydrates. They're the primary source of our energy for our bodies. Obviously, it's a glucose, and it's essential for the functioning of the central nervous system. So if we need it for energy, why isn't it good for us? What causes it to be so bad, right? And it comes into play with how we abuse it in our body, with the insulin of our body. In diabetics, it doesn't make insulin. The body doesn't make the insulin, so they got to add it in, right? So if it gets too high, okay, that's when we become diabetic. So we want to make sure that we have a good balance. And our brain uses 1/2 of all of our sugar energy in our bodies. And it's It's a very energy demanding organ, which now makes sense with everything going on in the world, with the way youth are consuming all these products,
Energy drinks
the
and
energy drinks, fast food,
the
okay,
Dunkin' Donuts and
Dunkin'
Starbucks
Donuts,
coffees.
everything quick today, right? We're
Yes.
just consuming fast food left and right. We'll
Mhm.
go to get a McDonald's fillet of fish and a Coke. Go to Dunkin' Donuts and get the drinks, the coffee drinks, and thinking that we're doing something because we're sipping on it all day. But it doesn't matter. You're still getting that sugar.
Yeah.
Okay. And sugar breaks down into these into the glucose to try and provide our body. But a lot of us, myself included, has the storage of it in our abdomens, our hips, our glutes, wherever the excess goes for you. Okay. If you're not burning it off, like you said, you were busy and active, so you didn't have to
Yeah.
worry about it, right? But as
Right.
we get older, it slows down. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure that we know the role in the diet, that it's very purposeful, but we've got to consume it the right way.
And see, even if
So
you think back in the 80s, like as kids and stuff, I mean, there was really no overweight kids. And even though we were always at the candy store and in, eating junk and things like that, kids back in the 70s and 80s, we were always moving. You would leave, at after Saturday morning cartoons, you'd be out all day, running around and just burning off those
yeah,
calories and that access. But now, unfortunately, like kids are addicted to their video games and their phones and their tablets. They don't want to go outside and play. So they're eating all this
yeah,
stuff and then they're sitting
yeah.
and
We were
no,
riding bikes, jumping, rolling down
yeah,
hills, everything. And
yep,
today, unfortunately, the world has made it the way it is today due
yep,
to child abductions, sexual predators. I look back on my cousin Deb and I when we were little. We would take the bus from Chadwick's down to Genesee Street and Court Street, get off there at I think it was Woolworths that had the counter you could sit and have lunch at, and then go up to Riverside Mall up in New York.
yep.
You can't do that today. You can't send a
No,
12-year-old girl down there by,
no,
two 12-year-old girls, you know,
no.
and it costs like 50 cents, but you can't do that today. You can't send people out, so you have to really watch your children. And what's the
Mhm.
best way? Put them in front of something, tablet, whatever. And now they're addicted to it, because they have to know how to use it when they go to kindergarten.
Yeah.
So like I learned how to tie, snap, zip, and button in kindergarten. They
Hmm.
have to know how to work a computer, a
Yeah.
tablet in kindergarten. And that was 55 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the world has changed, and now we've got to find a way to get our kids back outside or get exercising somehow to
Yes.
burn off this excess sugar and stuff. So let's talk a little bit about your how sugar affects the liver. Share a little bit about your husband's journey, which led you to reading his blood work.
Yeah. So last October, Rick fell ill and he ended up in the hospital um, with ascites, which is fluid buildup in the abdomen. And so we got all that, regulated, but on top of all the blood work and everything, his blood sugar, uh, he was never diagnosed as a diabetic, but leading up years prior to even that hospital visit, he was always pre-diabetic. His sugars were always like in the 130s, high 120s, and it's supposed to be a normal level between 70 and 100. So the doctors would always, tell him, well, just stay away from, carbs and sugar. And the thing is like Rick doesn't have a sweet tooth. I mean, he doesn't ask me to bake cookies or brownies or cakes or anything. He's like, I don't even eat sugar. And I'm like, but you're eating carbs, the breads, the pasta, everything that we like, pizza, and that all breaks down into sugars, on top of, drinking alcohol as well, because no matter what kind of alcohol you drink, it all breaks down into sugars.
Right.
So I was able to kind of track his blood work, and now just in a 4-month period, he went from like always being in like the 120s to 130s down into like, like 105-ish, close to normal.
Yep.
But we've changed how we eat, because I mean, you have to understand, the liver performs over 500 functions. So, I mean, besides your heart being the most important, because if your heart stops, you stop, your liver, you have to be health conscious about your liver, and just because it's responsible for metabolizing all the nutrients, removing all the toxins that we put in our bodies. It regulates the blood sugars. So it does a lot. And so you really need to take care of your liver as well.
Yes. And he was a heavy drinker, right?
Yeah, he would have probably about 6 to 7 shots of vodka, a night. But he would always mix it with like a vitamin drink, but I mean, every night over the course of many years, yeah.
Yeah, it leads up to, it builds up in your liver that can't break everything down. And then it also can't break down the other sugars. So him not having a sweet tooth probably was due to him having the alcohol. Because usually you substitute that. The beautiful thing is that he quit cold turkey.
Yeah.
And he's doing well.
Very well.
Very well, and very much on the road to recovery. And, he's got you by his side, who understands these things and researches them, and he listens to you.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
That's the beauty of it. He doesn't push you away and say, leave me alone, I don't care, or, you don't know anything. He really listens to you. So that's a beautiful thing.
I'm lovable.
You are lovable. You both are lovable. But so talk a little bit about the natural sugars and the artificial sugars that we
me put my notes here
that you've researched since then, because Karen called me or texted me, and Karen was like, I'm looking at his blood work, something doesn't make sense to me. What do you think about this? And so when I responded to her, I said, you've got to look at how sugar is looked at on a label. So on the back of a product, you've got to be able to read the label. And I said, your carbohydrates turn into sugars. So just because it says 2 grams of sugar, but 27 carbohydrates, there's actually 27 minus any fiber grams of sugar in the food that we consume, and especially in our processed foods. And we're going to break that down in a minute here, but I want you to get into that there's nothing wrong with the occasional sweet treat, but talk about some of the worst things for our liver that you've learned since then.
Well, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of that as far as like sodas, juices, energy drinks, donuts, cookies, pastries, anything carbs like pasta, rice, bread. I mean, pretty much everything that we like, and like I looked up like the list of sugars from best to worst. And the number one sugar that came up that was supposedly the best was stevia, which I'm not sure I agree with that, just because most artificial sugars are linked to cancer.
Yeah.
But then it goes on to say that the next best sugar substitute is honey, then pure maple syrup, coconut sugar, raw cane sugar, agave or agave. I'm not sure if I say that right.
Agave. Yep.
Agave,
Agave. Yep.
brown sugar, and then the granulated white sugar, which is usually everybody's favorite. So those are like the best sugars from best to worst. Now, I mean, I don't even use white sugar anymore or brown sugar. I use, when I bake, I use honey or pure maple syrup.
Yeah.
And I can go through like the benefits of each if you want me to.
Is it equal 1-to-1 when you're baking, or do you have to look up recipes so that it tells you?
When I'm baking, I'll look
Right.
I'll look it up, but there's this one recipe that I make chocolate chip cookies, but I use oat flour instead of white flour because oat flour has been shown to lower blood sugar levels.
Okay.
And it tastes really good.
Yeah.
And I only, instead of using like the brown sugar and white sugar that most chocolate chip cookies ask for, it's only a half a cup of honey.
Yeah.
Versus like, you know, I'm not even sure what the recipe is for chocolate chips, but isn't it like a cup of sugar and then like a half a cup of brown sugar? I mean, with honey, you're only using a half a cup.
For the
And they're
total
delicious.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're delicious cookies. I mean, I love them. I'll never go back to regular chocolate chip cookies ever.
That's good. You were talking about our blood sugar levels, and what's a concern? Like 140 and above, 200 milligrams and above. What do you know? What for diabetics?
Well, the overall blood sugar glucose, they want diabetics to be between that 70 and 100. I mean, if you're 120, 130, I mean, it's not horrible, but I mean, when you start getting into the 300s and 400s, and then if you hit like 600, I mean, you might as well be in a diabetic coma. So, I mean, like the 200s and 300s are very bad for diabetics.
I remember a friend of the family's, their brother was in the hospital, and for that, and they sent him home, and his blood sugar was over 600, and he ended up dying on the kitchen floor.
Yeah, wow.
Because of it. And yeah, so we got to really be careful with that. Our red blood cells, erythrocytes, they're the ones that take up the glucose. The insulin, which is a hormone, helps our cells absorb the glucose from the blood, and it triggers a release of glucose from the liver. And that's why it's so important to have a healthy liver. And by adding in these alcohols and all these sugars, we may not think that our liver can't process it, but when it's built up over years.
That's a double whammy on the liver.
Yeah, and the pancreas.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we've really got to prevent our blood sugar levels from getting so high. And you really need to take a look at your diet.
Yeah, because you can really, all those excess sugars, they can really overload your liver to where it doesn't have the capacity to process it. And then you start with just fatty liver disease. Then it goes into inflammation. Then your liver starts to become scarred, and then you have scar tissue, diabetes, and then eventually, you know, liver damage, and it goes into cirrhosis and then liver failure.
Yep.
I mean, it might take you a while to get there, but you'll get there if you don't.
And it can be scary, you know.
Yeah.
I remember listening to Rick's story on one of your other videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're laying in the hospital bed and you don't know, and you're going through it all, it's scary. You know, it's kind of like that movie Scared Straight with drugs, but, you know, or in a jail, but with alcohol or your liver not processing and stuff. But I just wanted to talk about some of the products that we normally wouldn't think has too much sugar. So let's talk about how you figure out how much sugar you're consuming. If you look at a package, I've got some oatmeal here, okay? And where it says total carbohydrates on the package, it's got 27 grams. It's got total sugars, 1 gram, and 4 fibers. So what you do is you subtract the fiber from the carbohydrate, which gives you your carbohydrates. And so for here, it'd be 23 grams of carbohydrate, which turns into glucose, which is sugar. And then you divide that by 4.2. So if you look at 23 divided by 4.2, 4 goes into 25 times. So it's about 6.5 teaspoons of sugar in a half a cup of dry oatmeal. That's dry. That's not even with the milk. So then you add the sugars from the milk in there. You're eating about 8 teaspoons of sugar and a half a cup of dry oatmeal, which is promoted as heart healthy, right? It is heart healthy, but what about your liver, right?
Right. Is it liver healthy?
So if you want to write down any statistics, any facts, take the total carbohydrates minus the fiber and divide that number by 4.2, and that will give you the number of teaspoons that are in a serving, okay? So if I'm going to give you like these elderberry lozenges, and I just happened to look at these tonight. When I'm getting a cold, I usually like to suck on these. So I was looking at it while Karen and I were talking, and there's 15 grams of carbohydrates. There's no fiber, so it's totally 15 divided by 4.2. So you're at 3.2 tablespoons of sugar in 4 of these little lozenges, which is a serving. Okay. So if you look at 4 of these, I don't know if I got 4 left. Yep, I do. So in these 4 little cough drops.
And they're good too.
Yeah, we think they're healthy, right? We think they're helping us, and then they're hindering us. I cook gluten-free pasta for Dylan because he's got celiac. And I was looking at that tonight because I always have a box in the house. 44 grams of carbohydrates and 2 teaspoons of dry pasta. Gluten-free pasta. I can't imagine what it is in regular pasta. Minus 2 grams of fiber, so it's 42 grams. Divide that by 4. I'm just going to say it's 11 teaspoons of sugar and 2 ounces of dry pasta.
Yeah, see, and we recently switched over to high fiber pasta, and I don't have a box so I can look at it, but they told Rick, and really anybody, it's always good to just increase your fiber because none of us you don't get enough of it anyway. And the high fiber pasta is really good. And we also bought, actually on accident, chickpea pasta, which was high in protein. And Rick couldn't even tell a difference. And usually he could tell a difference if something's like not right, with food. And the chickpea pasta was actually really good. But I'm going to have to check the carbs because it was all high protein and high fiber. So, we're thinking it's healthy.
Yeah.
And the high fiber pasta, that also lowers like your blood pressure and lowers your cholesterol.
So tonight, just to recap, we're just trying to let you know about hidden sugars that you're not aware of, or how to determine how many teaspoons, are in something, to help gauge you. When I was sick, I had a gastrointestinal bug a couple weeks ago. So I got some crackers and some ginger ale. Well, actually, I got Pedialyte first, and I couldn't drink it. It was terrible. But in Pedialyte, I would have never guessed it's for kids. You know, I was thinking, oh my God, that's got to be the best for me. It's for infants and stuff like that. 12 grams of sugar, 12 grams of carbohydrate, and divide that by 4. It's three teaspoons of sugar that you're drinking with 8 to 10 ounces of water. So it's just a sugar water, thinking that the electrolytes were going to help me. So we need to find better alternatives to feed our kids and to feed ourselves, you know?
Yeah, because there's a lot of the most hidden sugars are in condiments. Yep. Like your ketchup, your honey mustard, your barbecue sauce, your marinades, your salad dressings, pasta sauce, flavored yogurt. You know, people will always buy yogurt. Oh, it's healthy. Yeah, yep. Probably like the fat-free, you know, non-flavored Greek yogurts. But if you're buying flavored yogurts, that's loaded with sugar.
Even the high-fat yogurts with nothing in it are better for you. But right. Yeah, it's still, you know, and that's why people say they eat it for the probiotics, but you got the sugars that are offsetting the probiotics.
Yeah, and another thing I learned was like granola bars and protein bars.
Yep.
They're loaded with sugar.
Yep.
And I was like, you know, you're thinking protein bars are supposed to be, you know, healthy, but like canned soups, I've never been a big fan of canned soup anyway. Usually I'll make my own soups. But yeah, canned soups, that's loaded with like salt and sugars.
Right, exactly. Or sodiums. Yep. I was looking at the crackers. I got these little packages of saltines, and there's 15 in a package. Mm-hmm. 5 is a serving, and there's 12 grams in each serving. So if you were to eat this whole package, you're talking 9 teaspoons of sugar that you're consuming.
Man,
and this is what elevates the inflammation in our body. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a very inflammation-driven product. Sugar is, especially when we're consuming it in sweets and in breads and wheats and all of that. Very high in inflammation. So we really, really, really need to pay attention. Aisha, I'm with you on the potato chips. Dylan is addicted to them also. Let's see. So I get gluten-free flour for Dylan, 1-to-1 baking flour. I usually make them pancakes or something. I just happen to look at it. 30 grams of carbohydrates, 29 after the 1 fiber, all just sugar. And, you know, you divide that again by 4.2, and you're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8 to 9 teaspoons of sugar in a 1/4 cup, which makes 2 pancakes.
Yeah,
about 2 to 3, depending on how big you make them. You know, that's a lot of sugar.
And it's not necessarily like horrible like some of the servings, but that's the problem, is that we're always eating way more than the servings. Right. You know, like some people, they'll order like, you know, the tall stack of pancakes when you go to a restaurant. And I mean, there's like 5 pancakes on there and they're huge. Yep. You know, so that's where you start getting into trouble, is like if you're going beyond, you know, the serving size that you're supposed to. There's nothing wrong with, okay, like I'll have this, you know, these 2 pancakes, you know, for the day, and then maybe eat something else like later on. But, you know, if you're eating a tall stack breakfast, you know, of pancakes, and then you're, you know, having pasta that night for dinner, that's a lot of carbs, and that's breaking down into sugars.
Yes. Yep. So a good protein powder that I use, this is Dr. Weston Child's protein powder. It's functional fuel detox. His carbohydrates are 10 grams with 4 grams of fiber. So it's only 6 grams of carbohydrates. So that's less than it's 1.2 teaspoons of sugar in 1 serving, which is 2 scoops. with, I usually do about 16 ounces of water with it. So there are some healthy options out there. You just really need to know how to read your label. So I want to reiterate that to read the label, I'll go back to the oatmeal. You want to take your carbohydrates, which is 27 grams, minus your fiber, and then divide that total by 4.2 to get how many teaspoons. Because grams don't sound like much, right? 27 grams, you're like, oh, that's just this minuscule little thing. But I happen to have a bag of sugar here. And if we take out 9 teaspoons of sugar,
And it's funny because while you're doing that, I used to always be like one of those people that when I would see like people at the grocery store looking at labels, like constantly, like everything that they picked up, I would just like roll my eyes like, oh my gosh, these people are crazy. And now like I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Everything I pick up, I'm looking at a label.
So in this dish, you can see
That's a lot.
That's a lot of sugar for a half a cup of oatmeal, right?
Wow.
It's for your body to break down. So here we're doing something good for our body, and then we're not. So everything in moderation, okay? It's not that you have to get rid of it, but really look at what you're doing with your Dunkin' Donut coffees, your Starbucks coffees. They're huge. There's
one lady I know, she'll drink like the tall ones from she gets like iced coffees, but she has like all the syrups in it, the sugar and the creams, and just one of those is like 1,200 calories, just calories alone.
Just
so I
yeah.
I'm like, and she drinks 3 of them a day.
Well, on a 2,000 calorie diet, or 2,000 calories that they say is normal for a human being, depending on your activity level and all that. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't really say without me really going through and adding everything up for you. But for Dunkin',
yeah, but I mean, you can eat, if you were trying to be like on a 2,000 calorie diet, one drink, I mean, and then maybe a snack, and that's all you can have.
Yeah. And that's what's important to know is, if you're not losing weight, you have to understand where these calories are coming from. Most people only need a 1,400 calorie diet or less who aren't active. Now you're going to the gym, you're working out. Like when I worked out with my first personal trainer, I went to her, I said, I'm not losing any weight. She goes, because you're not eating enough. So she put me on a 1,900 calorie diet. And as soon as I started eating 1,900 calories, the weight started falling off of me. So you have to have knowledgeable people that can help you out.
Yeah, and a lot of things that I see, like I code for an endocrinologist, and they have a lot of diabetic patients. And I don't know how some of these doctors don't slap their patients, because just reading the reports, I want to slap some of them, because they don't want to exercise. They just want the pill, give me the diabetic pill, and that'll, but yet they're yelling at the doctor that they're not losing weight, and it's, the doctor's fault, and they need to change their medicine. And then he's like, well, what are you eating and drinking throughout the day? And then they'll write it in the report. And this one lady, she drinks a half a gallon of orange juice a day, because she thinks she's getting all her vitamin C and her minerals. And it's like, no, you're getting diabetes.
Yeah, you're getting sugar.
Yeah, but then, and then she's like, I'll have, just a couple of, I'll have a bowl of cereal. Then for lunch, I'll have like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then I'll have pasta at night. And, I don't eat a lot, but look what you're eating and look what you're drinking.
Yep. In an 8-ounce glass of orange juice, one of the small bottles of it, there's 26 grams of carbohydrates. So there's over 6 teaspoons of sugar. And she's drinking a half a gallon of that
a day.
And I remember when I worked, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, but we've been trained, growing up and everything, like listening to the commercials, give your kids, your orange juice and your Sunny D and your milk and this and that. And it's just like, oh, if I drink orange juice, I'm doing something healthy. And really, orange juice isn't really that good.
Yep. I'll tell you, the best thing that happened to me was moving down here to Georgia, because I never got cable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see all those ads.
Yeah, we don't have cable either.
I have to research myself everything that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Because it's not constantly in my face.
Right.
And I don't miss it. There's nothing on TV. I can look at the weather on my weather thing here and know how to dress for the day. Right. And the thing when you were talking about we want the pill, the one thing that the pill has done to us, and the reason people want it, is because it takes the responsibility away from them.
Yes.
To have to do something. Oh, I'm popping a pill. The doctor said this is going to help me. The responsibility's gone. The responsibility of taking the pill, whether it's at the same time every day or the insulin every day, that pill takes the responsibility away of us taking responsibility for what we're eating, what we're drinking, and how we're living our lives.
And then they blame the doctor if the pill doesn't work. And
they blame everybody but themselves.
Yep.
And I find that in every aspect of life. And,
right.
After I had the cancer, I was like, I want to do anything I can so I never go through chemo and radiation again. And that was doing a complete changeover in my life. And, I've always had a poor digestive tract, so I fight with it constantly. And it's gotten worse since I had COVID. They tell me it's long haulers COVID with my digestive tract, but I seem to be working it out as I go along and try different things. So, but my doctor doesn't know what to tell me to do. All they can tell me is this is long haulers COVID.
Right.
But to them, there's no cure. But for me, I know how to research. I know how to go deeper. I know how to reach out to functional medicine people who might have another option for me.
Absolutely.
Versus what the natural medical people provide.
Yeah, because if you're going to a regular doctor, they've been trained on medicine. Like when I have an herbal question about this herb, like my doctor is just like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, they don't research that.
Yeah, so they're not trained, they're trained for, here, take a pill. And like as far as food, we don't know everything that they put in our foods when we're eating. Like for example, Cheerios. Like if you look at labels, it's interesting because 95% of our foods, you'll always see that label that says bioengineered foods.
Yes.
And it's like, why is my food being bioengineered? Why is part of my ingredients, being grown in a lab and, and then put into our food? And it's like, you really need to steer away from foods that say bioengineered. And that's a lot of the processed foods and even like the canned foods and like even like the mixed nuts, like Hannaford's or Walmart will have their own brand. But then if you look at the back of that bag, it'll say, some of these products have been bioengineered. And it's like, but they're walnuts and almonds. Like, what are they, what are they putting into our food?
Yep. And they're not telling us.
Right.
They're not just, they're just saying, it's kind of like arsenic, just a little bit on to protect our fruits and our vegetables is okay. if you're not buying organic that aren't supposed to be sprayed. But how much is okay? If you talk to certain people, they'll tell you that phlebotomists don't have to put as much into us because our bodies are so toxic when they get them, that when they drain them. I don't know if that's true or not. I did have somebody from a funeral home come and talk about it at one of my support groups. So I only know that through them.
You mean embalmers?
Embalmers, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, embalmers, yeah.
So I'm like, I used to be a phlebotomist. I'm like,
No.
what?
Yeah, no. There you go. Embalmers. And yeah, so it's crazy to think everything we're putting into us.
Yeah. And also I wanted to mention too, is like endocrinologists, especially if you're a diabetic, a lot of them will tell their diabetic patients to not eat bananas and oranges because they're natural sugars, but they're the highest sugars. And they said if you want to eat fruit, you can stick to any kind of berry you want: strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, anything like that. Just stay away from the bananas and oranges.
Yeah. I wanted to go over some of the symptoms of high blood sugar, and then long term, which is like pre-diabetic versus diabetic. Some of the symptoms of high blood sugar in the early stages, you're very thirsty. So if you find yourself needing to drink more and more and more, and then if you're peeing very often, if you get headaches that you normally wouldn't have, but the big key is blurred vision. If your vision starts getting blurred. And then long term, if you're tired all the time, losing weight, you have skin or vaginal yeast infections, and trouble healing from cuts and sores. And this is very important for diabetics.
That's a big one.
I have a friend up in New York, and him and his wife were driving down the thruway, and a turkey flew into their windshield and smashed it. He was diabetic. He got out of the car and stepped on a piece of glass, and he ended up losing his leg because the wound wouldn't, well, he didn't go to the doctor right away. So he ended up losing the leg because it wouldn't heal.
Yeah.
So if you are diabetic, you really got to take care of yourself. You really got to watch what you consume. Talk to your doctor, find the right people to help you. Okay, again, Karen and I are only educating you on things. We can't diagnose or treat, but if you have questions, I can help refer you to the right people. There's a lot of good nutritionists out there. There's a lot of good doctors out there. I happen to have one down here. She gives me 45 minutes to an hour of her time. Most people only get 15 minutes.
15, yeah.
But she knows me. She knows how I feel about things, and she works with me. She'll do any blood test that I ask, no questions asked. She'll monitor everything. And I probably have gone through 5 doctors down here because of it. She's actually, she's a doctor. I think she might be a nurse practitioner. But I don't care. If you don't treat me the way I want to be treated, because I remember going to a doctor in New York, and I'm like, I want my T3 and T4, free T3. I want all of it tested, not just my TSH. And he's like, no, I just came back from a medical conference and TSH is all you need. I said, no, my insurance will pay for it. I want this. He goes, no. I said, you will do it for me. I want it done. But he didn't want any part of it. And you have to learn to advocate for yourself, especially if you're not feeling good.
Right.
Because you got to
know what you're feeling.
You got to know how to be strong. You got to know something's not right. And I want to do it, for me, I want to do it holistically first. Give me 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that's too much to ask. Most of us have eaten ourselves into this diabetes dilemma, and we can eat our way out of it. But like you said, it takes, what did you say?
Willpower,
Willpower.
discipline,
Yes.
commitment.
Yes. It takes a
You
lot
have
of commitment, and you have to believe that you're worth it. And it
Mhm.
goes back to taking that pill to take the responsibility away from you from having to do that, versus taking the responsibility, doing it the right way, and looking at the results from there. Keeping a journal of what you're eating. So when you go to the doctor, okay, I've tried this, this, and this. After I had COVID, I had what felt like an inner tube around my stomach, and it was squeezing me off all the time. It was like my transverse colon was just squeezing my body, and we did everything we could do, and we did upper GI, lower GI, trying to figure it out. But she listened to me. And eventually what I found out was I had this little tiny hiatal hernia, little tiny. And I learned how to heal that hernia from a YouTube video by drinking 16 ounces of water, because what was happening was it was pushing my stomach up underneath my rib cage. So my diaphragm was getting stuck up underneath. So it was all gathering right here. So I went for acupuncture first, and I didn't really like how that worked out. So then I was talking to a massage therapist. I'm like, I can usually massage my own abdomen, but I just needed help with this because my diaphragm was stuck up underneath. And he worked out my abdomen and the diaphragm. And now by drinking 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning to hold my stomach down, I've had zero problems with it. Wow. So, but my digestion is terrible. I don't digest food on a daily basis. I usually don't go to the bathroom every 3 to 5 days. It's just, no matter how much fiber I eat, no matter how much stool softeners I try to take or whatever it is, I just can't digest food very well. And it probably goes back to the celiac that Dylan has, and I'm probably a carrier for him of something that we just haven't found yet. But I'm aware of it. I'm conscious of it, and I'm constantly working on it. And that you have to be diligent of.
Yeah, you have to do your part. You can't just depend on doctors and a pill.
Yes. Yep. And I don't want any pills. I want it to all be natural.
It's all chemicals. I mean, you don't know what they're putting in our medicines. It's, especially if you can heal it yourself naturally, why not?
Right. Yep.
And I know that it's, it sucks because it's so expensive to eat healthy and yet so cheap to just get that, processed, food, fast food and everything.
It's not even cheap. It's not even cheap though for fast food anymore. If you've gone,
this is true. This is true.
It's $13 to $15 for a fast food meal today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could buy 3 bags of apples for that.
That's true. So it's like, yeah, that's very true. I didn't even think about that. But usually it's always like more expensive to eat healthy. But I mean, there are ways around that. If you like fruits and vegetables, I mean, you can grow your own garden, and even if you don't have like space outside, or maybe you live in an apartment, you can still grow a garden, in 5-gallon buckets, your herbs, your potatoes, your carrots, whatever kind of vegetables you like. You can even get like a kiddie pool, fill it with the right kind of soil, and put it in an extra spare room that you might have, so, I mean, you don't have to necessarily go out and buy your fruits and vegetables. You can grow them at home, and that saves you money.
Especially lettuce that reproduces quickly.
Yeah. And all your herbs, your basil.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't find organic food to be that much more expensive for the most part than regular. If you're paying, $2.99 for a bunch of celery and it's $3.49 for organic, what's 50 cents? Seriously.
Right. Yeah.
And so, it's all a choice. It's all a choice in how you want to live your life. And I really want you to look at labels. I do want to talk, I talked a little bit about a good, healthy protein shake. Look at it. Look at the back of the label if you want a protein shake, if you're doing working out, or if you just want to start your day. If you start your day with a 30-gram protein shake with very little sugar in it, you don't have to eat cereal, donuts, eggs. That'll give you your protein and your energy right there.
Yeah, and we started making our own protein shakes at home because number one, I mean, like you can go to like a protein, place, but you're going to pay at least $10 for one. But even still, they still add, sweeteners, or you can add like little things. But if you're making your own, you know what you're putting in. So it's like I'll use like the almond milk, and I'll throw in some kale and some broccoli, and then I'll throw in, all the berries and stuff. And I won't even add any sugar because it's sweet enough. And if you buy like bags of that and stick it in your freezer, I mean, you'll have protein shakes, as many times as you want for a lot of, for like a month at least, instead of paying $10 a day for a protein shake.
Right. That still isn't healthy for you. It's
right.
It's perceived because their protein powders aren't even really that healthy. So I've been doing a smoothie in the morning. It's a cup of lettuce, half a cup of spinach, half an avocado, a sprig of fresh mint, 4 tablespoons of fresh squeezed lemon juice. And then it has stevia, but now that you're talking honey, I might trade out the stevia for the honey. But
try it.
It's so delicious. I didn't realize how good romaine lettuce is in a smoothie. I've always just used spinach or kale or power greens. I tried the power greens and I didn't like it. It was too bitter for me. Where the romaine lettuce is sweeter. And it's a delicious smoothie. Like I was shocked at how much I liked it. And so I'm going to try the honey in there instead.
Yeah, and I actually did, let me read some of the stuff off, because especially if you're baking, substitute anything that says white sugar and brown sugar, substitute it with honey, or you can do, and it has to be pure maple syrup, not like the log cabin syrup and the store-bought kind. It literally has to be, Manuka honey is better. You can use it medicinally. Shar, she just commented that.
Yep.
But honey, like raw honey, is anti-inflammatory, high in antioxidants. It's antibacterial. You can use it medicinally for sore throats, cuts, burns, wound healing. It has 22 amino acids, 27 minerals, and 5,000 enzymes. It contains B6 vitamins, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and it does not cause your sugar to spike. Honey lasts indefinitely and has a nice floral taste to it. And 1 tablespoon of honey equals 64 calories. So there's only slight differences between honey and pure maple syrup. So the pure maple syrup is high in antioxidants. It contains riboflavin, zinc, magnesium, calcium, potassium, and has more of a woodsy flavor. It can last for years unopened, as well as months to years if it is opened and refrigerated properly. It tends to be slightly healthier than honey, just because it's lower in calories, and 1 tablespoon of pure maple syrup has 52 calories, whereas the honey has 64, but they're still low.
Yeah.
So if you can find recipes that substitute, and they give them different flavors, but it's delicious.
Yep. And I wanted to talk about that baking. Many people will substitute applesauce instead of sugars. But again, I was just looking up applesauce, and 1 cup, this is sweetened, 43 grams of carbohydrates. So there's 40 grams after your fiber's taken out. So again, 10 teaspoons of sugar. So unless you're going the unsweetened route,
which I usually have the unsweetened.
Let's see what the unsweetened is.
Please be good, because I didn't look at that label. But I love sticking to the honey and pure maple syrup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's delicious.
Yeah, so that's only 11 grams minus 1 gram of fiber, so 10 grams. So you're talking 3.5 teaspoons of sugar for that one.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you're getting the unsweetened applesauce. So,
and it's still sweet.
Yes.
I think so, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're making your own, like our friend Annie, she makes her own applesauce, and it's delicious.
And it's healthier because you know what you're putting in your product versus buying it and having it manufactured and then have that stupid label on it that says bioengineered.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have anything here that says bioengineered. Now, I do want to talk just briefly before we get ready to close out here, because we're at an hour. Red wine, as we talk about blood alcohols. I myself am a reformed abuser of alcohol. So I abstained for quite a while, years. And then as I've matured in my healing process, and what I mean by my healing process is I worked with a spiritual counselor for 8 years regularly. Okay. Talking about everything from when I was a little girl, traumas that happened to me, book studies like Changes That Heal, personal trainers, holistic doctors. So in the span of 10 years since I stopped, I've matured. I've healed. So today I can have a drink if I choose.
Right.
And not feel the need to have 2 or 3 or 4. Like I would have 3 in 15 minutes of vodka, cranberry, and orange juice. Just suck them down. 1, 2, 3. Because I like, that was just so I could socialize with people.
Yeah.
Okay. So today, if I feel it, like, so say at Christmas, if I want a mimosa, I don't belittle myself because God's healed me.
Right.
From all of that, going to church, my deliverance conference where I saw my beauty for the first time. Okay. It's not on a necessity like I had before. And that's why I never felt like I was an alcoholic, because I didn't wake up and have it. But I did go almost every day after work at 4:35, probably 6 days a week. I was at the bar.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would drive drunk all the time, and I hated myself. So I've overcome all that to love myself and to mature. So in reading, what doctors say about it and all of that, 1 5-ounce glass of red wine is very good for you. Very little sugars in it and all of that. Again, it's the abuse that hurts us.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're going home like Karen's husband and having 6 shots of vodka in a drink, mixing it with whatever, me going to the bar and having 3 right in 15 minutes and then continuing on for 4 hours. I don't know how many I ever had. I know I spent a lot of money over the bar, whether it was $20, $40, $100, plus food, fried foods and everything. So our bodies take those tolls. But if you are a mature adult who can handle going home or going to a bar and having 1 drink, red wine is a good source. 6 ounces of champagne is a good source. Okay. So we don't want you to say, I can't have anything. Going to a birthday party, a football celebration, anything like that. And being able to control what you do. That's how you know you're mature, you can handle it, and it's not an abuse of it.
Yep.
Now, like
Everything in moderation.
I can't have chocolate in my house. So many times I'm like, Patty, you're mature. You can have a bag of chocolate, and I'll go buy the Hershey miniatures
Yeah.
and the peanut butter cups, the Kit Kats, the Twix, the whatever they are in there, the Almond Joys, whatever the mixture is, the little ones, and I'll put it in my freezer. And I'll say, all right, I'm going to have one of each of them. There's usually 4 or 5. I sit down, I eat those, and I'm like, I go back. Just, by the time I know it, I've eaten 15 of them. I know I can't do that.
Yep.
I can't have chocolate in my house like that because I'm not mature enough to control. So, so I know I can have it out, if I want to go have a piece of cheesecake out or something. Dylan and I went to dinner Monday night, and we both ordered a 14-ounce steak, and it came with some potatoes and some spinach, and we both got salads, and I got 3 meals out of mine.
Yeah. Yeah, they give you a lot of food.
Where normally I would sit down and eat that whole 14-ounce steak. Like I'd buy a quarter cow every year, and I'd eat the whole quarter cow, like 50 pounds of ground beef. And I know my body craved that iron from the red meats. So I know when I need red meat and stuff in my body, but that was in excess. I'd eat that whole quarter cow in 12 months and couldn't wait for the next one to come. So I haven't found anybody down here that I trust yet. So I still have to research that. Because I would love to get another quarter cow. I'm not a vegan. I'm not vegetarian. I have no desire. I have no desire to go that route. I commend people that are. I've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried it.
But a little bit of everything. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I have a plant-based cookbook just, to, I mean, it has a lot of vegan and vegetarian, meals in there, and, I'll make them, and they are healthy and that they're really delicious. But yeah, I mean, I need meat.
And at some point, sometime we'll have to talk about oils to cook with and stuff, because I've just gotten into using avocado oil.
Me too.
And olive oil. And my salad dressing, I make myself, store-bought olive oil, extra virgin, and my either balsamic or red wine vinegar, and then some spices to go into it. But there's no sugar in any of it,
Right. Yeah.
And I don't do a lot of ketchup.
Yeah, me either. I know we've been bashing sugar like for an hour and 7 minutes, but I wanted to share that there is actually one awesome benefit to white sugar. And it works like 99% of the time. However, if you're a diabetic, ease off it. But if you have the hiccups, because anytime I eat like hot wings or like chicken wing dip or something that's like spicy or spicy peppers, I always get like the worst case of hiccups. And I want to say I read it in an article a few years back, but if you get like a half a teaspoon or maybe a little bit more of the white sugar and put it, like, let it just kind of melt on your tongue and then like kind of like swallow it as it's melting, it takes away your hiccups instantly because it relaxes your diaphragm and you stop hiccuping. And like 99% of the time it works. It's amazing. So there is a benefit to white sugar.
Yeah. And white sugar is not the enemy. It's how much we consume.
Right.
It's how much we take in. And you have to remember that. And you need to get things under control in your life. If you're stressed out, you've got to get control on why you're stressed out. Forgiveness,
it's a key.
It's a key.
Big key.
Forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others will do wonders for your mind, your body, and your spirit to make you healthy. Meditate, pray, do yoga, exercise. All these things are good for you. And drink lots of water, because lots of times you think you're hungry, but you're really not, and water will solve that. If you need to, add a little some kind of flavoring to it.
Lemon, lime,
Lemon, lime.
cucumber.
Tom Brady has a electrolyte squirt bottle that you can get to add electrolytes to your water.
Mm-hmm.
You can put a pinch of Celtic or pink Himalayan sea salt into your water, and that'll help your cells absorb the water better, especially if you work out. So there are things you can do to help you with these cravings, but really, if I could say get off of anything, get off of these drinks at Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, all these fast food joints, Starbucks. I know you think they're good, but they're really killing you inside.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to take charge of your life. I'm 60 years old. I started at age 50. I'm still going. There's so much for me to learn. There's so much for you to learn, but you got to believe that you're worth it. And find somebody like Karen's husband has Karen to help her. I had the same group that Karen talked about. There's still a group of us that still talk to each other from church up in New York that help each other out when we need it. We have a group text, and we just reach out to each other. I need prayer for this, or I need help with this. What do you think about that? And you got to find that group, whether it's online or in person somewhere. You've got to have those people in your life that you can turn to who will tell you the truth. Tell you the truth and not sugarcoat things and say, oh, it's okay. When Dylan was first diagnosed with celiac, I was one of the worst people in the world. As soon as he got diagnosed, I didn't know anything about it. I had to go research it all. And I'm like, hey, let's go to Olive Garden, have one less endless breadsticks and whatever pastas you want. We talk about it all the time. We laugh about it now. But how ignorant I was, and I could say that about myself, because I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Right. But we try, we research. And I'll say it again, you ate yourself into these things. You could eat yourself out of them, swapping one thing out at a time.
Yep. You don't have to do it cold turkey.
Yep. It doesn't work all the time cold turkey for people.
No.
But swap little things out at a time. Read your labels, because that's where you need to start. Stay out of the middle aisles unless you need olive oil and that. But don't go in the cereal aisle. If your kids are obese, start changing things out. Give them eggs in the morning. That's for the brain. The brain uses 1/2 of all of our sugar energy. No wonder they're off the wall. No wonder they can't concentrate. Okay? If they're high on sugar all the time. So give them something of substance, something healthier for them. Eggs is a good substitute. Okay? No Pop-Tarts. Find really good granola bars, really good protein bars. There's some out there that you can have, that your kids can have. So, but you've got to do the research. I've learned that by me doing the research for people, they don't take it as serious. They don't want to do the work. The responsibility isn't on them. So you have to put the responsibility on people to do it themselves. And when they get tired of things, that's when they'll take charge.
Yep. Small changes make a big difference.
Yep. Get off the orange juice. Make fresh if you really want it. But eat the berries.
Yep.
I mean, everything's available all year round now. I was talking to a lady at an apple orchard in New York. I went up there, I don't know, it was like January or February to get something. And she took me in one of the coolers, and it was filled with apples from the fall. And I was like, how do you keep apples from September, October, November. She goes, if you keep them at the right temperature, they'll last a long time.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's nice to know.
Yeah.
And so, not all of it comes from China. They can keep apples in a cooled cooler at a certain temperature and last into February, March and still be good. So these are the things that we don't understand when people say, oh, it's only good for this amount of time. Because they've picked apples and they've got them stored. They're an apple orchard. That's what they do. So don't believe everything that you hear. Do your own homework. Again, Karen and I are only here to give you our experience, what our knowledge is. We do not diagnose or treat. It's just for educational purposes. And Karen, I thank you. Tell them one more time where you're from and what you do. To check out your channels.
Yep, Love and Life on YouTube. That's our only social media platform. So we do emergency preparedness videos and do-it-yourself projects, organization, camping, reviews, just fun stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really good. Check out her channel. They got a lot of interesting stuff on there. Go read or go hear about her husband's journey this last fall and see how well he's doing now. I'm Patty McGee with The Hydrated Life. I'm on every platform. I'm the Hydrator on TikTok, The Hydrated Life on YouTube, Patty McGee Official on Instagram, Patricia McGee on LinkedIn, and Facebook, Patty McGee, and The Hydrated Life. So check us out on all these channels. We have great stuff everywhere, something that's going to benefit everybody. And if you have any questions, anything that you need more information on, please reach out to us and go subscribe to our YouTube channels, please. Thanks, Shar. And thank you, everybody, for listening now and anybody that watches the replays. We appreciate it. Share it. And let's get people educated to make a better life. Don't accept the pill as the only source of healing.
Right.
Take responsibility for yourself and go out there and make the changes that you need to make and do the hard work. Okay. Thank you, Frankie, Aisha, and everybody have a great night. We will see you on our next live.
Take care.
Bye.